Welcome to Monday and Christmas Eve. You're watching CBC News BC. Dan Bird with you in the Vancouver newsroom. Let's get you up to date. A parade of storms is set to hit BC's south coast this week. Environment Canada is forecasting strong wind and rain over Christmas and Boxing Day. That wind is expected to pick up this afternoon and intensify overnight. The weather agency says it will impact most of our region and Vancouver Island, especially near the water, including Vancouver, Burnaby, and New Westminster. That storm is expected to taper off by Tuesday morning, but for the central and north coasts, very strong wind and heavy rain will last until early Thursday morning. Coastal areas could see flooding because of storm surges. Now, one coastal community is still feeling the effects of the last storm. People in Lions Bay are mourning two longtime residents after the body of a second landslide victim was recovered this weekend. The mayor says rescue crews found the body of Barbara Enns on Saturday under that massive debris flow. Her husband David's body was found a day after the slide swept away their home. The mayor of Lions Bay says the elderly couple had lived in their community for decades.
It's devastating for the group of friends in the community. I know that their walking group and their hiking group was out this morning and were together, and it was very emotional for the members of our community.
Here, experts will further assess the area to ensure ground and landscape stability. Illegal dumping of excavated soil and construction waste on farmland is a growing problem in our province. The Agricultural Land Commission says complaints about unauthorized fill placement make up 48% of all the files it deals with across BC, as contractors continually try to avoid fees they have to pay at authorized disposal sites.
I've heard that it takes upwards of $1,000 in tipping fees to dispose of a load of construction fill. So if they can pay a property owner like $200 a load, something like that, they tend to look at it as a win-win situation, a smart business decision, not realizing that they're having a lasting negative impact on the land.
The provincial government says in 2019 it changed the rules so people have to get ALC approval before they dump fill on farmland. Despite that, ALC records show it has issued about 4 dozen stop work orders in the last 2 years. With only 6 officers to patrol the entire province, though, it says it can only respond to complaints rather than being proactive. The Centre for Whale Research says it has learned a new calf was seen traveling with the J-pod as of December 20th. The centre says the calf was potentially seen with J35, but the researchers haven't been able to get on the water yet to see it for themselves. They say it usually takes them a few attempts to assess the whales and try to figure out who the mother is. The group says J-pod has been in the Puget Sound area for the past several days now, which is outside their normal research range, but the centre says it looks forward to their next encounter with the orca group. Nice Christmas present. You're up to date on CBC News BC. Thank you for joining us. For news anytime, please check our website, cbc.ca/BC. I'm Dan Burrett. Stay with us, please. BC Today is up next with the fabulous Amy Bell. She's talking about those winter storms we mentioned. She'll keep you up to date. And holiday movies. What are your favorites? Please call and email us. Happy holidays and Merry Christmas.
Good afternoon, and thank you so much for joining us. A powerful series of storms is set to make Christmas a wild one. We'll check in with Environment Canada for a look at the latest forecast. And what's your favorite holiday film? Do you prefer the classics, or has a new one stolen your heart? And the holiday gatherings with families and friends can be difficult for some. We'll hear some ways to navigate tricky situations and survive the season without losing your cool. I'm Amy Bell, in for Michelle Elliott, and this is BC Today. And thank you for joining us on radio, TV, and live stream. You can call us now on our top story. What's your favorite holiday movie? Our number is 604-669-3733. You can also call 1-800-825-5950 or hit pound 690. You can also email us, bctoday@cbc.ca. Now, Environment Canada expects storms to slam the coast with high winds and heavy rainfall this week, and with that comes the chance of power outages and ferry cancellations. And that, of course, could make the holidays difficult for some. For more on the stormy forecast, we are joined by Environment Canada meteorologist Chris Doyle. Hi, Chris.
Hi, how's it going?
It's going well. So, a bit of the calm before the storm, perhaps. What are we expecting weather-wise this week?
Well, we're actually in the calm before the storm today. Light winds in Vancouver, of course, and just a little bit of cloud cover, and even the odd sprinkle up around the North Shore, which we didn't really expect, but you take what you can get in the winter.
It's true.
So we do have a pretty significant storm approaching Vancouver Island from the southwest today. It's going to lift north up into just south of Haida Gwaii by tomorrow morning. So we've got wind warnings out in effect for nearly all of Vancouver Island, and for those parts of the Lower Mainland adjacent to the Georgia Strait, but sorry, not the Lower Mainland, but rather the adjacent to the Georgia Strait north of Vancouver. So Vancouver itself is not included in the wind warning for overnight tonight.
Okay.
So we're kind of just getting grazed by the storm that's going to have a much more profound impact further to the north and west of the city.
Okay. And what areas do you think will be most significantly hit over the next several days?
Well, for this first storm overnight tonight, it's really the west coast of Vancouver Island, the east coast of Vancouver Island, up the Georgia Strait, north of Powell River, and then, of course, the BC Central Coast and the southern part of the North Coast. So strong winds, heavy rain, risk of power outages in those locations overnight tonight. Then a bit of a lull for everyone for much of the day on Tuesday. And then by Wednesday, our next system comes in.
Mm-hmm.
Its origins are actually in the southwestern Pacific near the Philippines. So it kind of shows you how quickly systems are moving across the Pacific now and have been for days.
Yeah.
But in any event, we do expect winds to pick up over all of coastal British Columbia on Wednesday, peaking in the afternoon. Along with the strong winds will again be heavy rain, but much heavier rain on Wednesday, Christmas Day, rather than overnight tonight.
All right. So not a white Christmas, but definitely a wet one.
Quite the opposite of a white Christmas.
We've also, as we have sort of alluded to, quite warm temperatures this past weekend, especially. Where were we sitting at in terms of typically what we would see temperature-wise, and where we actually hit in some areas?
Yeah, typically we're looking at temperatures about 10 degrees lower than what we've been getting over the past few days. We saw the strongest sort of warm anomalies over the west coast of the island, but it's warm everywhere. And through Christmas, it's going to be warm across the entire province. Even in those areas up in the northwestern part of British Columbia and the Peace, we're still looking at temperatures, even though below zero up there, still 4 or 5 degrees above seasonable averages through Boxing Day. And over the south, we're in the same boat. It's just going to be warm, and for coastal BC especially, wet, and for nearly everywhere at times, windy.
All right. We'll leave it there, but thank you so much. We'll batten down the hatches for Christmas, that's for sure.
Exactly.
All right, take care. That is Chris Doyle, a meteorologist with Environment Canada. It is 12:10, and this is BC Today. And it's been very busy over at YVR Airport this week. It's especially ramped up last Friday with people heading out of town to see friends and family. This weekend had been the busiest travel day of the season. And this morning, YVR spokesperson Eric Pateman gave the early edition an update on how the airport is handling the passenger traffic, especially in light of the janitor strike.
No, the basics are make sure you give yourself lots of time, get to the airport for domestic 2 to 3 hours, international 3 to 4 hours early, have your liquids at the top of your bag if you're flying carry-on, laptops out, unless you're going through our brand new Pier C checkpoint, which is using the new technology, which allows you to leave liquids and laptops in your bag. So that will speed up the process a little bit.
All right. And what about people picking up and dropping people off at the airport? Anything they should know?
Yeah, we've just added 30-minute free parking in our parkade. So we're allowing people to come in and pick up and drop off within the parkade. So that gives them another option to just using the curb. If you've got people coming in, the easiest thing to do is go to the Cellphone waiting lot, watch for the to come in, people clear security, and then you can come and pick them up as well.
And I'm curious because, of course, we know the janitors at YVR who work for Alpine Building Maintenance began a strike on Friday. What kind of impact has that had on operations in the past couple of days?
Nothing too significant. I mean, the management team for Alpine has been doing a great job going after the sort of strategic areas within the terminal. We've really deployed a team of staff to make sure that we're identifying any critical or urgent areas that need attention.
It is the most wonderful time of the year for many reasons, especially if you love holiday movies. So whether you're revisiting one of the classics or checking out one of the new crop of films, nothing quite says Christmas like these films. Now, one of my all-time favorites is the classic It's a Wonderful Life, starring James Stewart, and this moment never fails to touch everyone.
Look, Daddy, teacher says every time a bell rings, an angel gets his wings.
That's right. That's right. Attaboy, Clarence.
We do want to hear from you. What is your favorite holiday movie? One lucky caller will get a cozy BC Today winter blanket to snuggle up under and watch a favorite film. Call us at 1-800-825-5950, 604-669-3733, pound 690 on your cell phone. You can also email bctoday@cbc.ca. And joining us now is Christine Evans, Cinema and Media Studies Professor from UBC. Good afternoon, Christine.
Good afternoon, Amy. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. So there are a lot of movies that are released at this time of year, but what makes a truly excellent holiday film?
It's a great question for the ages. I mean, a lot of it is obviously down to the personal taste of the people who watch them. But I feel like the things that the things that need to be there, the ingredients that need to be in that recipe are, for sure, there is some sort of crisis. For sure, somebody has to be upset or depressed. Family has to be eccentric and unbearable. And then there has to be some sort of realization that, that this was worthwhile after all. So there has to be like some sort of journey where someone overcomes the fact that Christmas is in fact actually a rather difficult time for literally everybody.
This is true. And, bonus points if they can like save their father's Christmas tree farm or something in the making.
Absolutely. And of course, none of this applies to children. Like I rewatched Charlie Brown's Christmas for the first time since I was a child yesterday. And I was like, why didn't my parents even let me watch this? Like, this is so incredibly depressing and adult. But at the time I was like, yeah, the tree is ugly and then they make it pretty. So none of the rules apply to children, thankfully.
Excellent to hear. Excellent. Now, as I mentioned off the top, one of my favorite films is It's a Wonderful Life. I have to watch it every Christmas Eve or it's just not Christmas. Where does that rank for you in terms of, holiday classics?
I mean, I will say that I haven't watched it yet, but that's because I save them. I portion them out
Yes.
and I sort of save the best for last. So I haven't watched It's a Wonderful Life yet, but it's up there. It's either like a Christmas Eve or a tonight kind of movie for me. It is so, so high up there because it does literally everything that we need it to do. It's like it feels the season on our behalf.
Yes.
And in doing that, it allows us to do it. It's like the emotional or like the sad version of a laugh track or like the sentimental version of a laugh track. It just sort of pushes you right to where you need to be. So yeah, I usually it's definitely one of my favorites. Top one or top two. I vacillate.
What is another one for you? Where do you also throw your heart?
You guys were nice enough to have me on for this program last year. So I talked a lot about One Magic Christmas last year, which is much more available now because it's a Disney film.
Yeah.
And it had kind of fallen out of circulation, but now it's on the Disney Channel. So a lot more people have watched it. And it is basically the sad housewife version of It's a Wonderful Life, only I think it's infinitely darker. So that one's up there for me too. I remember watching it as a child and it terrified me because I was like, oh, at Christmas, my parents could die. Sure. Okay. Another big one for me is I love Christmas in Connecticut. My parents and I watched that together last night. Christmas in Connecticut is such an amazing, watching it yesterday, I was like, wow, this is Hallmark literally just picked up this formula and then stretched it out like taffy across thousands of other films. So, you know, Barbara Stanwyck is this kind of fast talking New York career gal. But she moonlights as a kind of Martha Stewart advice columnist who writes this nice domestic column. It turns out that she can't do any of the things that she advises people that she's capable of doing. And then she has to fake all of it when a handsome Taylor comes to sort of stay at her idyllic Connecticut house. But that idea of like the career gal, she's got her like priorities all at a place.
Right.
Like, and then, you know, some kind of salt of the earth guy shows up and sort of restores everything for her. However, watching it yesterday, I was also like, this film is kind of more interesting in many ways because so much of the film is about her sort of pushing against all of the expectations that people have of her being this idyllic housewife. So it's also kind of in its own sort of Barbara Stanwyck-y way, like a kind of interesting feminist movie, I guess, but it's delightful and full of, it's just like a little chamber comedy that's full of all kinds of delightful misunderstandings. So,
Hijinks will always ensue. I feel like I've had that on my list for so many years and then I just never make it to it. So I'm going to put that down possibly for tonight. We do have a couple calls that have come in, so let's head to them now. Rory in Vernon, what is your favorite holiday film?
Well, hi there. It really varies from year to year, but you know what? I was listening to what the other lady said about What Magic Christmas, and you know, I agree it's dark, but there's some real amazing acting in that movie. Harry Dean Stanton playing Gideon the Angel, to me, was just incredible. Such a gentle, reassuring kind of persona that he put on there. And Jan Rubin's portrayal of Santa Claus was just, to me, was second to none. He just brought it into a more real sort of feeling, you know, versus the usual jolly sort of kids version of it.
Yeah.
But it's worth going through the darkness of the film to get to the ending of the film.
Yeah.
And, you know, it, to me is one of my favorites. But it depends on the year. Like, for me, another one, White Christmas, is just absolutely one of my favorites.
Total classic.
Yeah, I love Bing Crosby and Danny Kaye together.
Yeah.
And I just really love going back in time to you know, records and live entertainment in the dinner theaters and all of that, and just love, you know, how that feels.
Yeah.
This year and several other years, you know, Jim Carrey's How the Grinch Stole Christmas, his portrayal, which I'm sure a lot of people will talk about. The thing that got me about that movie is it's got to be no easy feat for, you know, director Ron Howard and the writers to take a 22-minute cartoon and stretch it out into 2 hours without losing the story, right?
Yeah, they did a great. They did a
Yeah,
great job.
so I just really enjoyed that one as well.
All right. Well, thank you so much for calling in, and happy holidays to you and yours. And Christine, I think there's sometimes quite a lot of debate amongst Grinch purists, and then the live action with Jim Carrey. Care to tell us where you fall?
I mean, I don't want to take sides here. I never do because then I get all kinds of emails.
True.
But I will say though that I think it's interesting that the Jim Carrey film has kind of grown in terms of how the place that it assumes in our hearts. Because I remember when it came out, everyone was like, "What is this? This is ridiculous. This is pointless. We already have the cartoon, like Boris Karloff. You can't get any better than that. Why did Jim Carrey ruin this holiday classic?" And now people love it.
It's true.
So I feel like the fact that it too has kind of taken on this nostalgic feel in the same way that we remember our childhood Christmases or our Christmases as teenagers when we were trying to escape our parents' houses so that we could go make out with people that we were dating, whatever. Like all of those.
I don't know what
like,
you were doing at
nostalgic-
Christmas, Christine.
Come on. Merry Christmas to me.
Yes.
But no, definitely. I think it's quite nice actually that the Jim Carrey film has kind of grown in appreciation. And I feel like Elf did something similar.
Very
I remember
similar.
when Elf came out, everyone was like, "What?
People
Who
just
is this
made
Will
fun
Ferrell
of it.
guy?"
I know.
Exactly. And I feel like we weren't even ready for his style of comedy yet. And then it just sort of grew and grew. And now, of course, it is the absolute juggernaut that it is today.
Yeah.
So
All right. We'll get some more calls in because we have a lot that want to share their favorites. Edmund in Campbell River, what is your favorite film?
This year, my favorite movie is the Home Alone 2.
Nice.
Lost in New York.
Yep.
Another
Classic.
really good Christmas classic. Yeah, makes family forgets him again. He kind of just makes his own kind of dream vacation out of his dad's credit card and getting lost in New York.
Yep.
Yes, thank you for that. Poor Kevin. Forgotten once again, but making the best of it. Victor in Yarrow, what is your favorite flick to watch this time of year?
Yeah, absolutely. As far as funny and Christmassy, Christmas Vacation with Chevy Chase is always a lot of laughs.
Yes.
For the family, and I mean, there's a few of them as far as emotional and really to get down to Christmas spirit. Miracle on 42nd Street, Christmas Miracle on 42nd Street, another one.
Yep.
That
All
I
great.
thought was really awesome.
All great.
So,
Well, Victor, thank you for both of those, and Merry Christmas to you and your family. And yes, Christine, you and I were both saying yes. National Lampoon's Vacation is a classic.
Yeah.
Back when
Definitely.
the idea of not getting a Christmas bonus was so horrific that you would have a whole movie dedicated to it. Bruce in Victoria, what is your favorite?
This is crazy, okay? Because this is my top 5 movies of all time.
Okay.
And it's been flying under the radar, mostly for everybody that I know. No one's mentioned it. Last year, the year before, I had to call you.
Okay.
And I had to let you know. Family Man.
Yes.
With Nicolas Cage.
Love it.
Tia Leone. Brilliant movie.
Yeah.
Brilliant acting. The children in it are great.
Yeah, Don Cheadle.
Yeah, Don Cheadle. He's great. It's similar to It's a Wonderful Life.
Yeah.
Except he falls asleep, goes back, and of course he experiences the life he could have had with his one true love.
It's true. Yeah,
It's just brilliant. And I've watched it once already. I'm going to watch it again. And please spread the word. Family Man, Nicolas Cage. It's so cool. Thank you.
I agree. Oh, I agree. Thank you so much, Bruce. And that is, I actually have a hoodie with Nicolas Cage's face on it that I will wear to watch Family Man. So I'm a big fan. Christine, let's talk about one of the newer holiday movies that have come out. Merry Gentlemen. We'll listen to a little clip here.
We only have until Christmas to save this place, or it's gone forever.
Just a few more measurements. His eyes are up there.
Shout out to the Merry Gentlemen.
Bit bit of a steamier take on a holiday classic. Who are the filmmakers trying to reach with a film like this? I think I know.
I mean, Christmas really is a time. I mean, it's interesting that, Bruce mentioning the Family Man about this, which is a romance film, like it's a Christmas romance film.
Yeah.
But obviously, Christmas is a time when we do like to reflect on me being like the people that you would sneak out of the house to make out with, and so on. You think back to sort of all of these romances. It's like
It's true.
Christmas is sort of time for reflection, and that means that like romance inevitably comes up there. So I don't think that it is at all an accident that, that there are so many romantic comedies and sort of films that incorporate an enormous amount of like romance and kind of love story subplots into them. And this is one that just sort of seems to really foreground it. So I don't think it's unusual. I just think that it's sort of a little bit more self-consciously self-aware of
it's a bit more in
who
your
it's trying
face.
to reach.
Yes.
So the fact that they're like, you know what, ladies, if you're having an unsatisfying Christmas, here are some like,
half-naked men.
Yeah. So you just get your holiday wish that way, and that's fine.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
But I mean, other than, maybe Full Frontal, what does a movie need to do to really stand out from the crowd when it comes to, a Christmas movie? Because we do hear time and time again, people going back to those old favorites. So how do you get the new one into the rotation?
I mean, part of me wants to just say that it's one of those weird retrospective things. Like we might not know until like 10 years from now, whether this one stood the test of time. Because again, so many of the films that people like, or that, Rory and Edmund and Victor and Bruce mentioned, these movies didn't necessarily do well at the time of release, or they were poorly critically received, or they didn't have great box office results.
Right.
And yet now they have sort of come back, precisely for this sort of nostalgic reason, maybe because we remember being younger and watching them, or maybe because they are, they're just showing a time that we remember nostalgically. So I feel like with so many Christmas films, it really is a matter of them having a kind of second coming, like a weird sort of Jacob Marley. They arise like a few years later, and we're like, oh yeah, that movie, Nicolas Cage, and like that weird Christmas movie that nobody liked at the time, and that now again has had this kind of revival. And we've seen that, like Christmas in Connecticut is one of those films as well.
Sure.
So is oh God, Remember the Night, and so on. All of these sorts of films that just sort of flew under the radar and that now have kind of taken on this new status.
Yeah.
So part of me, in answer to that question, wants to be like, only time will really tell what ends up being a classic or not, because weirdly at the time, nothing seems classic. Everything seems new. Everything seems cynical and shiny. Someone mentioned Home Alone 2. Again, at the time, everyone was like, this is the dumbest possible sequel. This is such a stupid idea.
True.
Why would anyone go to see this, right? The original was pretty okay. We were still kind of only deeming it as pretty okay at the time.
Yeah.
And now again, we look at it and we're like, yes, this was a fantastic idea for a film. So I think the sort of corporate cynicism of that creates so many Christmas films at the time, we're really resistant to it. And then some time passes and we embrace it because we're in a completely different age of corporate cynicism by the time we're embracing the old stuff.
Maybe my grandchildren will be gathering around to watch Hot Frosty 20 years from now. We just don't know. We do have time for one more call from Joan from Burnaby. Hi, Joan. Quickly, what's your favorite holiday film?
Oh, it's called The Man Who Saved Christmas, and it's with Jason Alexander, and it's says based on a true story in the early World War I erector sets.
Oh, okay.
Toy manufacturing man. Yeah.
Oh, well, that is one I have not watched yet, so I'll add that to the list. Thank you, Joan. And Judith writes, The Great Rupert is the very best Christmas film ever, starring Jimmy Durante. Again, these are ones that I haven't heard of, so I got to put them into rotation maybe.
I mean, Jimmy Durante, I haven't seen that one either, but that sounds, I'm
intrigued.
No, yeah, putting that on my list. I mean, not someone that you would want to see in Merry Gentlemen.
No,
but famous for other amazing reasons.
Exactly. Christine, we are out of time, but I thank you so much for joining us once again for our holiday film retrospective, and I have a feeling we'll talk to you next year.
Oh, I hope so. Thank you so much, Amy. Happy holidays. Happy holidays to everyone else. Happy Christmas viewing. Remember, the movie does the work for you. Just let it do its magic.
I love that. Thank you so much. That is Christine Evans, the UBC Cinema Studies Assistant Professor. And we will go now to the CBC News with Robert Zimmerman.
Good afternoon. A series of storms bringing strong winds is expected to hit BC's coast this week, starting today. Gusts up to 120 kilometers an hour are expected on western sections of Vancouver Island, up to 90 kilometers an hour on the south coast. Environment Canada has issued a warning that winds may cause damage and outages. The weather agency is warning of a strong frontal system that will also bring very strong winds and heavy rain Christmas Day into Boxing Day. It's not clear if the expansion of a strike at Vancouver International Airport will lead to flight disruptions. Janitors at YVR have been on strike since Thursday, and starting tomorrow will picket undisclosed areas of the airport. They are asking workers at the airport not to cross lines. The 233 janitors have been without a contract since the end of September. And whale researchers are celebrating what appears to be the birth of a new orca in Puget Sound. The calf was spotted swimming with J-Pod on Friday. At last count, there were 73 southern resident killer whales in the Salish Sea. And now the forecast. Wind warnings are in effect for Vancouver Island and the south coast, with gusts up to 120 kilometers an hour. On the north coast, rain this afternoon with strong winds and a high of 9. Highs around 8 and mainly sunny in the Peace. In the central interior, lots of sunshine with a high of 4. Highs from 1 to 4 and cloudy in the West Kootenay, a bit of sunshine in the East Kootenay. In the southern interior, a mix of sun and cloud with a high of 6. And for Metro Vancouver, Greater Victoria and the Fraser Valley, some sun and cloud this afternoon with highs around 11. That's your CBC News update from Vancouver.
And Robert, we were discussing all our favorite holiday
You were.
What is yours?
Well, I know there's some debate. I'm going to say Die Hard. Is it a holiday movie?
It's a holiday movie if you watch it over the holidays.
There you go. Die Hard.
Die Hard. All right.
Yes.
They shouldn't say Love Actually. That'll get a lot of angry emails apparently.
I wouldn't do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, happy viewing. Thank you.
Thank you.
And your generosity has continued for our Make the Season Kind campaign in support of food banks in BC. So far, thanks to you all, we have raised $1,979,643.96. The online donation site is open now through to midnight, December 31st. cbc.ca/kindbc. And make sure to join us tomorrow for our annual Christmas Card of the Air. It'll take over the show for the full hour. Call in and send your holiday greetings to loved ones across the province and beyond. And whether it's to family, friends, coworkers, or even just a stranger who made a difference, you can send your Christmas wishes now to BC Today at cbc.ca. And then you can call us throughout the show tomorrow, 1-800-825-5950, 604-669-3733, pound 690 on your cell phone. We will spend the full hour spreading your messages and celebrating the season. And I really look forward to hearing all of your Christmas wishes. And the holidays often mean spending time with the family and friends that you love the most. But this time of year can also bring relationship stresses and strains to the table, whether it's divorce or differing politics. 'Tis the season for some pretty big emotions. So how do you navigate those holiday gatherings, and do the holidays cause drama in your relationships? Call us at 1-800-825-5950, 604-669-3733, pound 690 on your cell phone, and you can email us now, bctoday@cbc.ca. And joining us now to answer your questions and provide some helpful tips for navigating the holidays is registered psychologist B. McKay. Hello, B. Thank you for joining me
I'm delighted to be here.
And best of the season to you.
Thank you.
What are some of, I guess, the biggest stresses to a relationship that can come up this time of year? Because it can be a difficult one for various reasons.
It's can be very difficult. Some of the stresses are based on what we expect at Christmas. I mean, it comes from our backgrounds. If we have good Christmases in our past, we tend to expect that. If we've had difficult Christmases, maybe with alcohol, etc., in our home, then Christmas can be a very difficult time.
Yeah, and there are different expectations sometimes in terms of what traditions need to happen and people that need to see. So what can people do to sort of clearly communicate that and sort of avoid a repeat of either a past experience or being disappointed that it didn't sort of live up to their expectations?
Well, they need to have a good working relationship to begin with. And if they do, then they can talk it through before Christmas. But often it just unfolds, and they get nervous and they get scared and they act out, and then there's problems.
And it doesn't have to be a romantic relationship necessarily.
No.
It can cause a lot of stress between parents and children and siblings and friends. And so how do we sort of enter into the season where we are going to be seeing these people, where we might be having a holiday gathering, where we are dealing with some big emotions?
Yes. Well, one of the things that I tell people to do who are worried about situations happening is I use the ferry boat metaphor. I say, imagine you're in a ferry boat and you're out on the deck and it's blowing and noisy and cold, and then you step inside the ferry boat and it's calm and most people in BC anyway have been on a ferry boat.
we are very well versed, yes.
So that they have that, they have the sensations of that too as an inner resource. And I tell them, draw on that. You can protect yourself, and you decide how you want to be at Christmas time. If you want to be calm and cool and collected and happy, then that's the persona that you project.
Okay.
And if someone says something to you that's nasty or uncomfortable,
right,
you can get in your ferry boat and you can choose not to be offended by it.
Okay. For many people this time of year, and we sort of touched on this last week, we talked about loneliness at this time of year, and people can really feel those feelings of isolation can be compounded as they sort of maybe see all these friends and families being surrounded by loved ones, but they perhaps don't have that. How can they manage the next the next few weeks while it's so apparent that they are alone in that respect?
Well, the best thing they can do is maybe help someone else. Going down to the food bank or helping Christmas dinner. Reach out into the community and be helpful.
No, that is sort of by providing that comfort to somebody else. It does tend to give you your own sense of comfort.
And it takes the pressure off yourself to be lonely. I mean, people are obviously struggling at Christmas time, and to see someone struggling, it takes your mind off your own worries, and you can help them. And helping others is really a good thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, any time of year, but especially this time of year. And I'd love to have our audience join our conversation about, how you navigate the holidays and holiday gatherings, and how you navigate those difficult times with friends and family at this time of year. You can call us at 1-800-825-5950. You can also reach us locally, 604-669-3733. For many people, it's the opposite. It's the thought of being around all of these people, and maybe their social anxiety kicks in, and they struggle with going to these events and sort of being so social for this time of year. How does somebody sort of manage that within themselves, where they still want to see their family and friends, they still want to take part, but it does cause them a lot of anxiety?
Well, if you breathe through the sensations of discomfort, it comes in waves, and if you breathe through the wave, you will be able to handle it, and you'll be able to create new neural pathways that are calm and different. And when we feel different, we behave different. But yes, people can be overwhelmed in a crowd at Christmas time, and just breathing through the sensations and difficulties will help them calm down and help them just be able to handle it.
Now, I know that October and November, I believe,
Yes.
are, I don't want to say popular months for relationships ending, but do they call it is it a seasonal split?
Well, it's more about Christmas coming up.
Okay,
It's
so
like,
what happens? Is that sort of when people say, "Nah, I don't want to be with this person through. I don't want to get them a gift."
that's true. They are in a inner conflict about Christmas or about their relationship, and so they they decide it's a time they decide before Christmas they're going to split up before Christmas or after Christmas, and so it's that time of decision making, and it's something that I've studied in my research, and I found that people will either break up and they'll decide in October and November, they'll either say, I can't do Christmas with my family again, and they'll break up then, or they wait till after Christmas for the kids' sake, etc., or they just want to get through Christmas, and then they'll break up after Christmas.
And that was my sort of follow-up question. If you were in that situation where you are just trying to maintain the calm and maintain perhaps the family for the sake of the kids, that can be very difficult.
Yes.
How does one go through that while they're, I guess, maybe even grieving the end of their relationship, but trying to still provide all that Christmas magic for the children?
Well, it's about, again, breathing through the sensations and just deciding how you're going to be. I mean, the only person you can control is you, so you can change how you are, and regardless of how people respond to you, your partner or family members respond to you, you can use, say, that ferry boat metaphor of you can keep yourself calm by just imagine you're being in a ferry boat.
I do like that idea of just finding that calm within yourself. But it isn't always easy. There can be times, say, a family member might say something just deeply offensive or deeply hurtful, where you can't, maybe choosing to not be offended isn't an option. How do you sort of navigate that in the context of being at a gathering?
Well, I say you just withdraw yourself from their presence. You know, you don't have to get hurt. You don't have to, or if you are hurt, you can just say, you can just remove yourself, go to the bathroom for a few minutes, or go outside, or talk to someone else who's at a gathering, etc.
Okay.
But you do not stay in the presence of a person who is
hurting you or
and family members can really hurt each other at Christmas time and every other time of year.
And why is that? It's supposed to be this beautiful and exciting time, and it's very family focused, but that does seem to be where we find these fractures in families. Is it just that heightened level of stress, or is it too much time spent together?
Well, I think it's alcohol has a lot to do with it. People will have loose lips when they're drinking, so they'll let slip things that they may not want to say or wouldn't say if they weren't. So it's about, not being around people who are drinking or etc.
And I don't know if you would have the answer, but I would imagine perhaps with all of these holiday gatherings, there is more consumption of alcohol or perhaps other substances that we typically wouldn't see at any other times of the year. How does somebody sort of prepare themselves for that? Maybe somebody is entering their first holiday season when they aren't drinking, when they've decided to change their lifestyle. I would think it could be a bit tempting, and maybe they feel like they're missing out on something. How can we sort of support those people while they're going through this first maybe sober holiday?
Well, one thing is a person can drink a non-alcoholic drink like a Virgin Caesar again. So they appear to be drinking and don't draw the interest of others that they're not And it's just, I think it's becoming more accepted to not drink as now than.
It does seem to be, you know, especially with the younger generations, they
Yes.
seem to be a lot less inclined to be drinking, especially, but also doing recreational drugs and just sort of finding other ways to celebrate. Again, I would love to have people call in if you have any questions or comments about handling the holidays, especially around, you know, perhaps holiday gatherings, stresses with your loved ones, your family members. Give us a call, 1-800-825-5950. You can also call us at 604-669-3733. We're here with B. McKay, a registered psychologist, and she's written books. Let Go of the Outcome is one that she provided me with here, but you have a great amount of experience. Do you find that you're busier once the holidays end as you're having to
Yes,
deal with all of the
absolutely.
fallout?
There's usually fallout from the Christmas events and things that people's marriages will just unravel.
That's the end. So then how does somebody come back from that? So you've made it through the holidays, you're starting the new year, and you have perhaps a split or a fractured relationship with a family member. How does somebody move on through that? What kind of work can they do to get through it and not hold on to that maybe hurt?
Well, I certainly, in terms of relationships, I certainly recommend that people seek out therapy. And people don't realize you can do couples therapy on your own. It's one of the books I've got on my to-do list to write. Relationships are interactive. So if you change how you are, your change impacts your partner or your mother or your father. And so there's ways to deal with that. And people think, oh, well, if my partner won't go for therapy, then what's the point of me going? But there's all sorts of things that you can do to change your look at your part and change it, that can be helpful.
Yeah, I guess you can work more on sort of changing the role you play into that.
That's right.
Into that relationship. One thing I have learned to perhaps stay away from at family gatherings is politics or religion. It can be a bit of a powder keg.
Yes, it sure can.
Are there any other maybe topics that people should avoid over the holidays if they want to avoid conflict?
Yes, there's abortion.
Yeah.
And racism.
Yeah.
So those are two as well.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. We do have a call now from Nancy in Surrey. Hi, Nancy.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Happy holidays to you. And what are you curious about with relationships?
I just came down with something here. Sore throat, cough. All the illnesses that are going around, so I've kind of pulled back. I was taking a friend grocery shopping today, so I just wondered if you guys would touch on stress illness.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, Nancy, thank you.
And then everybody having their healthy boundaries, staying away from gatherings and stuff, which is what I'm going to have to do.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, Nancy, I'm sorry you're not feeling well, but can stress sort of be triggering in terms of making, that anxiety or that level of stress can actually make you sick for the holidays?
Yes, it certainly is. It's also one's self-talk, how one's treating oneself.
Right.
If you're beating yourself up, that's yourself against yourself, and your energy is opposed, and that can make you sick as well.
No, that's very true. And I think people are very, very hard on themselves over the holidays. And I know for many people, this might be the first sort of holiday season where they aren't that they've lost a loved one. So that's their first, Christmas without a parent or a sibling or a dear friend. How does somebody navigate that grief over the holidays?
Well, it's difficult because often they're in pain, and when everybody else around them is happy. So again, they breathe through the sensations of grief and pain. And if you're a family member of someone who has lost someone, you can you can, they often are confused about whether they should say anything or
It's
not.
true.
And I say that, you know, you can talk about it. You can say, I miss so-and-so.
Yep.
And, yeah.
And sometimes that can be a great comfort
Yes.
to hear their name and to hear
Yes.
people share their memories. So
Yes.
I agree. Don't be afraid to remember those. That
It'll make Christmas relevant to them.
No, that's very true. We do have one more call from Helen in Burnaby. Hi, Helen.
Hello there.
And how are you handling the holidays?
Well, my husband of 60 years had a stroke in August.
Oh,
And
Helen, I'm
it's not-
sorry.
Yeah. It has been very confusing, upsetting, and whatnot. And I have said to people that one of the problems in a situation like this is that you're neither fish nor fowl. You know, your husband is alive, but he's not there, and in this case, he's also totally non-responsive. So I mean, you can't even go and say, well, you know, I saw Jim and Jim. Well, I mean, you can say it, but the response you get might very well be be nil.
Yeah.
So it's. And of course, everybody, of course, is going to ask you, how is Ken doing?
Yep.
You know, has there been any change? And you know, and that can be a very painful.
Yeah, I can imagine that it is.
However, the thing is, and the trick is, I think, well, if it's a trick, you really have to step into the world around you, and to fit yourself into the season.
You do, and you need to surround yourself with friends and family. And I apologize, but we are out of time. But I thank you for joining us, and I wish all the best for you and your husband. And B, I thank you so much for joining us. We are out of time, but it's been wonderful to chat with you today.
Thank you I'm delighted to be here.
That's B. McKay, registered psychologist. And we're counting down the days until Christmas, and we've got another holiday song for you to wrap up the spirit. Here is If Christmas Comes This Year, performed by Ben Sinister and Friends.
This Christmas, my dear, it's the best time of the year. This Christmas will cheer for Jingle Bell rockin', filling your stockings with joy. And a couple toys. This Christmas, my dear, pack up the sleigh, Rudolph's leading the way from here. Have no fear. We can go skating in the park. tired. This Christmas, my dear, there'll be mistletoe when our hearts will be glowing when loved ones are near. Pass me another beer. We can go skating in the park. We can go caroling after dark. We can make angels in the snow. If Christmas comes this year, if Christmas comes this year. If it comes this year, 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 have a happy new year.
And we are still getting some emails about your favorite holiday movies. Lorraine writes, Love Actually is my fave feel-good movie. Happy holidays, and happy holidays to you, Lorraine. And Lily writes, my favorite holiday movie is Home Alone. I've been watching it every year since it first came out. Another big favorite, Elf. And here's a little bit of it now.
Okay, people, tomorrow morning, 10 a.m., Santa's coming to town.
Santa! Oh my God! Santa here? I know him. I know him.
He'll be here to take pictures with all the children.
Yeah!
Just keep your receipts. 10 a.m. tomorrow.
10 a.m. tomorrow.
It is a holiday classic, and it was filmed here, just so you know. That is our show for today. Thank you for calling in and joining the discussion, and you can always email us, bctoday@cbc.ca.